Ladies and gentlemen, I've always opined on this platform on many occasions that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence. And that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Nothing in politics just happen for the sake of it. Yesterday, Misani Africa released some very interesting opinion poll results for Vihiga County. Yesterday, Misani Africa released the results of some very interesting opinion polls for Vihiga County. Today, they released another crazy results for Kisumu. But one thing is constant, that in those two opinion polls, there is a general agreement that the ticket of Edwin Sifuna and Kalonzo Musyoka is the preferred one by the one-term movement. And I want to analyze it. And before I do that, before I go briefly through these interesting results, let me ask you, in your own opinion, do you think if Edwin Sifuna and Kalonzo Musyoka teams up, either Kalonzo becomes the presidential candidate or Sifuna and one of them becomes the running mate, do you think that ticket can defeat William Ruto in 2027? Because for me, I'm looking at that ticket. It's a lethal ticket if you are to go strictly by our treble numbers. But let me first of all take you through the results which they released yesterday for Vihiga. In this Vihiga, they're saying that Kalonzo and Sifuna are preferred 22%. And then there is Matiangi and Sifuna, which is 20%. Then there is Sifuna Ndindi-Nyoro, which is 16%. And then there is Kalonzo Rigathi, which is 8%. And of course, there's also Matiangi, Kalonzo, 4%, and Matiangi Rigathi, 0.4%. In short, Sifuna and Kalonzo ticket is preferred. If elections were held today in Vihiga, that's the ticket they'd easily vote for. Now let us go to Kisumu. That's 22.4. Let's go to Kisumu because the Kisumu one, they've just released it. Very interesting. In Kisumu today, they are saying that in Kisumu, the ticket of Kalonzo and Sifuna are preferred 25.9%. Way more than the preference in Vihiga. And then number two is Matiangi, who is preferred 12.8%. Remember, in Vihiga, Sifuna Matiangi ticket is preferred 20%, very close to Kalonzo in Vihiga. Then there's the Ndindi-Nyoro ticket, which is here at 11%. Then there is Kalonzo Rigathi 8%, and of course Matiangi Kalonzo very low there, 5.6%. So in short, there's this preference of Kalonzo Sifuna. And my question is, can this ticket win? That's exactly what I want us to analyze in this video. Before we do that, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to go through this analysis by asking a few questions. Because let's now assume we have Ruto. Ruto is already settled there, and Ruto has Kindiki as his running mate. Now we have Kalonzo and Sifuna. The question is, if we are in 2027 and you are given that ballot paper to take, which box would you take? Would you take Kalonzo-Sifuna or Ruto Kindiki? Let us vote in the comment section. But my first question is, can Mount Kenya vote for the ticket? Because politics is a game of numbers. And there is no way that ticket can win minus Mount Kenya. Is there general agreement in the mountain that in 2027, we are going to have Ruto and Kindiki, and then we are going to have Kalonzo and Sifuna? Can Mount Kenya vote for Kalonzo and Sifuna? The truth is, if Sifuna were to become Kalonzo's running mate today, you can be guaranteed that the entire Ukambani will follow this ticket. Sifuna is taking the Luhya politics by storm. They're seeing another Masindi Muliro in him. They're seeing another Wamalwa Kijana in him. So it's likely to sweep Luhya politics. If they were to get the support of the mountain, because I want to assume Mount Kenya is not with Ruto, perceptually. We can't talk about the actual votes. If that were to happen, then those three voting blocks, dangerous. Those three voting block, dangerous. Those three voting block can actually produce a president. But the biggest question is, can Mount Kenya vote for this ticket? I want to hear the answer, especially from those from the mountain. Because William Ruto was in Kirinyaga. The other day, he was also in Mount Kenya. And the way William Ruto is being received has always shocked me. He won in Kamba, he won in Mbeere North. Do you want to say that Ruto will not get votes in Mount Kenya? So the question of Mount Kenya voting for this ticket is something which should now start preoccupying their minds. Kalonzo Musyoka should figure out, how can I win the support of the mountain? Because if Sifuna will agree to be Kalonzo's deputy, then Kalonzo must win the support of the mountain. Without Mount Kenya, zero. Number two, let us look at Fred Matiangi factor in 2027. Because if you look at all these opinion pollings, the pair of Matiangi is turning out to be very strong for both cases. Either being paired by Kalonzo, it's performing above at number 2, 2, 3, 4, all of them. Now, if today you wake up and Matiangi is not on the ballot, how will that affect this team? Or what can they do to persuade Matiangi to stay? Because Matiangi also has a solid Gusii votes behind him. But those Gusii votes are actually guaranteed if he is a presidential candidate. In a case where Matiangi is not a presidential candidate, how will the Gusii community vote? Yeah? Which will boil down to one question. What role will Fred Matiangi play for this team? Which position will they give him? Will he be given the position of the defender? Or will he be given the midfield? Or one of the strikers there? Maybe the prime cabinet secretary. So Fred Matiangi factor is something which, in my view, these guys must treat very carefully. Because for William Ruto, he is the president. You'll be rest assured, Rift Valley will vote for him. Of course, the Luo Nation will vote for him, even based on what the Kisumu results are saying here. They're saying here that Ruto will win by 49%. Yeah, which for me might be a bit low, which should worry William Ruto. But the fact is, Matiangi is going to be a major factor. Number 3 is the question about the ODM support base. How will ODM support base vote? From this opinion polling, there's something which is very interesting if you go through it. There is something very, very interesting. In Kisumu, they are saying that as per the popularity of political parties, that Linda Wananchi, which is a breakaway of ODM, now controls, it has 38% of their support. Then UDA is number 2 at 24%. Then Linda Grounds of Oburu Odinga is at 19%. So let's assume that ODM in Nyanza will vote for Ruto. Let's just assume. And at 60%. What about the ODM in Luhya Nation? Will they pick Sifuna? What about the ODM in the coastal region? How will they vote? So that's a very important question, which these guys need to work with. Yeah? Because we can only get answer to that question at the polling station on the voting day. I don't know the methodology. I don't know the parameters these guys used when coming up with these opinion polls, but ODM support base and how it's going to vote is very key. Very, very key. And I think ODM support base will vote depending on how Rigathi, all the role Rigathi Gachagua will pray for this. And number 4 is Nairobi. Who will control Nairobi? Can Edwin Sifuna and Kalonzo Musyoka control Nairobi? Because the truth is, there is no way you can become the president of the Republic of Kenya without controlling Nairobi. Never. William Ruto became the president of the Republic of Kenya because he had the support of the mountain in Nairobi. Despite the fact that Raila Odinga won in Nairobi, but William Ruto also had substantial support in Nairobi. That's very important. Very, very important. Very. So, the control of Nairobi, and I want to assume that's where now Babu Owino comes in. If you now have Babu Owino, you have Kalonzo, and you have Sifuna, then you only need half of the mountain to control Nairobi. Yeah, so it's very important. And lastly, the national grassroots network. You see, Kenya is a very big country. And it's very difficult to win if you don't command national support. And national support is not measured in rallies. They're measured on the ground. Raila had that national networks, which he created through the ODM structures. Today, if you were to give Sifuna and Kalonzo the ticket, do they have the grassroots networks? That is very important. And do they have enough time now, between now and the election time, do they have enough time to create that network? Ruto was able to win, in quotes, because he had Uhuru Kenyatta at that time. He used that Jubilee network. And when he formed UDA, those Jubilee networks came. William Ruto was in ODM. He left with ODM networks and formed URP. You remember? So he maintained those networks. And when William Ruto was campaigning, he did something which most political leaders did not do. William Ruto came up with a serious grassroots networks in the name of hustlers. And this network had roots from the polling stations. For Kalonzo and Sifuna to win, they must be able to create national networks. Not porous one, because you can create a national network, but infiltrated by the deep state. So, I don't know, because I know when, I know Kalonzo does not have networks beyond Ukambani. I mean, there's no wiper. Today, if you go to my village or you go to your village, you go to your village and ask them to show you any wiper person they know, they won't. Sifuna, to some extent, can leverage on the ODM networks, which they actually used effectively when they were here over the weekend. They used that ODM network. So it's very important to have a national grassroots networks, because these grassroots networks is the one which will also help when it comes to vote protection. Otherwise, kura zako zitaenda ukiona. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.